Welcome everyone to the 2022 STEAM Buying Guide hosted by PCS Adventures. I'm Michelle and this is Erika, and we are really excited to have you with us today. As a quick introduction, PCS stands for Pat's Computer School. So we've been working in STEM education since 1988. We started out as a bunch of centers where kids would come to do hands-on activities, and now have evolved to kit up the solutions that evolved out of those centers, and now work with programs across the US as well as internationally.
Thank you for that introduction, Michelle, and thank you for joining us. If you are an in-classroom teacher or out-of-school teacher, we are happy to serve coordinators. Again, thank you for attending.
A quick introduction to the two of us. I work in our curriculum development team as the director of STEM development. I've been with PCS for over 6 years now, and before that was a classroom teacher doing middle school math, science, and robotics, and also got to work a lot in out-of-school programs, summer camps, and tutoring. So I also really love the out-of-school space.
And I'm Erika Liebel. I'm the curriculum coordinator on the development team. I also get to do a lot of development myself. My background is in dual immersion world language education, so Spanish. So I would approach my activities to my students with kind of a STEAM lens. So I'm very happy to be a part of the team for the last going on almost 3 years. I actually attended PCS when I was a child, when we had the in-person lab. So it's really nice to see how this has all come full circle.
Absolutely. We've got a ton planned to cover today. We'll talk just briefly about STEM and STEAM and what that continues to mean to us at PCS, and then spend most of the webinar talking about a bunch of different solutions if you are looking to bring STEM and STEAM to your program. So we'll look at some new programs as well as some favorites and most popular picks from the previous years.
And just to give you a little bit more information about the giveaway, you do have an opportunity to win one of these two programs, whichever one is your favorite. You were automatically entered for a chance to win just by registering for this webinar. So thank you again for attending.
We are really excited to tell you about these new programs. This is a quick preview of everything we're going to be talking about today. You can see our 4 product lines on the left. We'll be talking about programs that use bricks, STEM enrichment programs, even a few from our Discover series. The one thing we will not be talking about is drones, but if you are looking to bring drones to your programs, there will be whole other webinars specifically focused on that, so you can look for those on our website. But to kick us off today, we wanted to address this question, and maybe Erika, you can go first. Why STEM and STEAM, especially in this moment?
I think it's good to consider both approaches. As I mentioned before, I have a lot of experience applying STEAM, and I did find that with my students that I've gotten to work with, both when I was in the classroom or when I've gone to do pilots with PCS Adventures with our programming, it does become an approachable way to get more kids interested in what would become traditional STEM. So by offering that A for arts, and all of the other options, science, technology, engineering, and math, along with the art, you're just giving kids more entry points to really hook them, to find their strengths, discover new ones, and then maybe you can go to something that's more focused with STEM. But that's what I found in my experience. So I find it's good to be open to both.
I love that. Well, and I feel like the arts too can be such a positive experience for students. They're so creative. And I think that relates to something I'm hearing more and more in the education space, which is people really looking to bring joy into their programs, which is such a big word, but I think totally speaks to the need to have something positive and playful that we can offer to our kids. And STEM and STEAM both offer these awesome platforms to create those kinds of experiences. And so that is very much the philosophy we like to bring at PCS to all of our programs. How do we help kids find their passions, like you said, and have these really positive experiences with STEM that they can carry with them wherever they end up going with their academic career?
I really
So,
like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that bringing in your own creativity, maybe kids that haven't been as interested in STEM find that with bringing in the arts, they do realize that the other disciplines do require creative thinking as well.
That's so true. And I think that speaks to why there are so many different ways of approaching STEM and STEAM to try to reach as many different kids as possible. And so as we go through today, we'll really try to highlight how each program kind of approaches these same ideas from different angles and different themes. So, for the next portion, we're going to launch into looking at one of our newest STEM or STEAM programs for 2022. This is Dirt Camp. So, Erica, first of all, can you tell us what does it mean for Dirt Camp to be an enrichment program?
Sure. Enrichment programs are 12 1 hour lessons to be offered to up to 30 students, and all supplies that are required to lead the program are included, right down to the last colored pencil.
That's awesome. So, what is Dirt Camp specifically all about?
Yeah, so our enrichment programs are aligned around different themes. This one happens to be around everything dirt. So, what's kind of fun is even we were talking about this during the pandemic. There's been so many uh, virtual, activities. Everything is online, so a lot of the inspiration behind this becoming an enrichment program was getting kids back to something really fun, playful, and especially tactile. So kids will get to explore where dirt comes from, how is it formed, what are the different animals and different insects that live under the ground, what do plants need to grow and survive, and even kind of designing and building their own farm. So there's a lot of fun and a lot of entry points for this program.
I love that. You mentioned some of the example activities already. Are there any that are favorites for you after going through and doing all of the testing for this one?
Yeah, you can really see that, you do get to roll up your sleeves and get
Yeah.
dirty and play in the dirt and mud. So it was really fun. You can see on the far left, this is a crayfish chimney that they dig down into the water table so that they can survive. The next one over, those are swallows' nests, which were kind of another fun sort of engineering feat. And it sticks to the plate, and you can hold it up vertically in the air and hang it just like a real swallow's nest. So that was a lot of fun. The kids also have engineering challenges. One on the far right here is building a beaver dam. So that was really fun to get to design, test, and modify to see if it will hold the water back. There's a lot of more artistic projects as well. On the bottom left, you can see this is painting with dirt, so a nice dirt art activity. And you can see some of the little animal friends that they get to interact with. You can also see down here in the middle, with kids get to actually build real adobe bricks and make different structures for their farm. And on the far right here, we have mud cloths from Mali. So getting to learn a tradition with making dyes with dirt.
It looks so much fun. I mean, this covers so much ground. What do you hope kids really take away from participating in this program?
Well, I think that something so mundane or banal as dirt, kind of understanding more about where it comes from, exploring nature and its origins, being curious, being willing to play and experiment, and just, having more of an awareness of their everyday environment, being in their backyard, being on the playground. What are these things? So I think that there are a lot of uh, fun things to pursue, even getting to go on like a bug hunt.
Absolutely. I would have loved that as a kid. I know you worked with a really awesome team of educators to put this together. Can you tell us a little bit about the people you worked with?
Yeah, for this program, it was a pleasure to get to work with Beth Schott. She's an environmental educator that we've worked with quite a bit. So, if you are a fan of our other enrichment programs like Pirate Camp, Unleash Your Wild Side, and Survivor, this is definitely going to be another big hit. So, if you're a fan, really consider maybe including this on your list of purchases.
And if you aren't familiar with those ones, we will definitely be touching on some of them later on, as some of them do continue to be longtime favorites at PCS. This looks great. I know at the same time, you've been working equally hard on our podcasting curriculum. This one is for the older students in upper elementary and middle school, and it's in the Discover series. Can you tell us how that's a little bit different than an enrichment program?
A Discover series can be set up more like a lab. Maybe some of you have heard of or gotten to experience video production. There are a lot of also drone products, but it does require a little bit more independence from the students. But we have the full set of equipment. So that's something that I'm excited to share with you is just how thoughtful that we've gotten to put together this podcast lab for teachers and students.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit what comes with the podcasting lab.
Sure. So you can see here, this is an example of one of our setups with microphones and different filters. And there's even an isolation shield, that larger piece that sticks up. It all integrates into kind of these nice mini labs or stations. So groups will have 2 of these set up for them to use, and 10 total to use in a class of 30. So this is all professional grade material. We've gotten to consult with members of industry. We've been consulting, especially with a senior producer for Brains On, Mark Sanchez, on lessons and looking at equipment as well. We've also been working with a teacher named Karen Patterson that won the middle school competition nationally for the NPR Student Podcast Challenge. So they've all gotten to chime in and see what works with this as well. But again, the isolation shield really helps to kind of dampen sound in a noisy classroom. So kids have kind of this nice little cubby to record in. You also have pop filters to kind of block, the S kind of sizzle sounds, or P for kind of popping. You also have a wind filter and a shock filter in case anybody kind of knocks into it, but all professional grade material. So we're really proud to roll this out for teachers and kids.
Absolutely. So tell us about kids that go through this program. What does that look like for them?
Yeah, so the first half of the program is really uh, offering a hands on way to acquire skills so that they can be independent for the second half of the program, where they, as a group, create their own full length podcast as a team. So, in the first portion of the camp, they're getting to learn how to interview, especially how to tell stories in a compelling way, and learning how to record and edit, even searching for sounds. So, it really offers a completely new way of thinking for kids while really capitalizing on the popularity of podcasts in our culture. And I think really finding ways for students to realize that they do have something valuable and interesting to offer, to find their voice and share that with others.
That's powerful. Beyond, all those obvious skills that you just mentioned, were there any particular reasons that you felt like podcasting was a really good choice for where we're at in education right now?
Yeah, I think that it offers a lot of flexibility. You can lead this in the classroom with students and get to have that in-person collaboration. But if you're having to worry about moving from in-person to online or a hybrid manner, this is all still able to work at home. So with the program that we provide for recording and editing, Soundtrap, kids can still collaborate at home, almost like you would with a Google Doc. Kids have access to record and edit together. So I think that that's a real strength of the program, just being adaptable to, whatever the world is throwing at us right now.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, and before we move on, tell us about these pages we can see on the screen here.
Yeah, so this is really fun. If you're familiar with drone designers, there's a kind of professional notepad that takes kids through all of these tips and getting to meet industry people. So we've kind of followed that similar idea for podcasting. So this is a podcaster's pad. So this is where kids can write down all of their ideas, get a lot of curated tips from industry experts, as well as the experts that we've been working with directly to develop the program. So it really is a fun, colorful, interactive way for students to feel supported in creating either their mini projects at the beginning of the program or to develop that full podcast.
I love what you guys have done with this. It looks so good. Like Erica said, these are the two options for the giveaway. So we're excited to be getting these out to folks. For the rest of our webinar, we're going to be talking over a bunch of different products. So going through these pretty fast because we want to provide a whole bunch of different options, knowing everyone out there is in a different situation, just to highlight what's unique about each of these and what makes them so great and so popular.
Yeah, so I think we're going to kind of switch roles here.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, with all of your experience as the director of development at PCS, can you tell us about these particular programs? What do you mean by grab and go? What are some of the advantages of these particular programs?
Totally. So for these first ones, we wanted really tried and true, bulletproof. Anybody could come, grab these off the shelf, glance through the lessons, and in 5 minutes you're going and your kids are having a great time and a really valuable learning experience. So we've got some Brick Lab programs here that all come with awesome reusable materials. And then we have our simple machines that uses a more advanced set of building manipulatives, but all of them are really popular, especially you can see Brick Lab Core here. Apart from our drone programs, this was our #1 most popular product of the previous year.
Ooh, that's good to keep in mind. So make sure you check out the ones with the little medals that have this kind of special honor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you could tell us a little bit, what are some of these advantages that it looks like they're reusable and expandable? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so everything in our Brick Lab product line comes with this standard set of bricks that's designed to serve a group of up to 30 students. And so the nice thing is that once you have that set, you can add a whole bunch of different curriculum titles to really get a lot of mileage out of that. So we know of teachers that are using their Brick Lab in their 15th or their 20th year, and it's all 100% reusable. You can even sanitize the bricks in the dishwasher. So, in terms of any consumables, you're really just getting one thing that you can use over a bunch of different years. And
That's really
then,
important.
oh, absolutely. Well, and for people that might have grant funding, this is a really popular option. And the same is true for simple machines. This comes with, you can see there some Fisher Technic manipulatives. They're out of Germany. And so if you have any kids that have really maxed out their Lego skills and are looking for more of a challenge, these ones can expand even up to the middle school level. And you can see they include pulleys and levers and all sorts of really advanced building techniques.
It seems really well thought out. Maybe if you could share with us some of the highlights or your favorite activities from Brick Lab Core, since it is one of our most popular titles.
Absolutely. So in Brick Lab Core, for each grade, there are lessons that relate to each of the core subjects. So you've got some for math, some for English language arts, some for science, some for social studies. So, for example, for a science activity, you could use your bricks to build a shadow box and then use that to study light and shadows, which is an important topic in elementary science. Alternatively, since this is STEAM, there's a fun activity where you build a snowman and then also write a poem about snowmen. So you're getting both the arts of construction and then the language arts we also consider a part of STEAM. And
That's
then, of
great.
course, for math, these are an amazing manipulative to do all sorts of modeling.
Great. So it's really living up to its name to cover different parts of core.
Yeah, no, exactly.
All right. So the next product that we have highlighted is Famous Architecture, part of the Brick Lab line. So I even remember kind of doing a version of this when I was a kid, and I remember this was my most favorite activity with PCS Adventures. And getting to build even like a pagoda roof and learning more about Japan. And at the end, I got to stand on the roof, and it was amazing to me as a kid that it could, withhold your own body weight. So I know that this is a really popular one if you'd like to touch on some highlights, especially with STEAM for this one.
Yeah, so in Brick Lab Famous Architecture, like Erica said, there are different builds for each day based on architecture from around the world. So one day might be a pagoda, another day the Empire State Building. But another thing I think is really cool about this one is it does introduce some real engineering techniques so that kids can go beyond the step-by-step build to do some really cool open-ended engineering challenges.
Those open-ended challenges are, really important to make that connection and applying what you've learned and your own creativity. So that's really exciting. I know it's definitely a favorite.
Absolutely. Well, and this one, like Core 2, also has those really consistent lesson plans. And so that would be another reason it really fit well into this grab and go. Once you've taught one lesson, you're ready to teach all of them.
So lots of confidence, easy to pick up and apply with your students.
Absolutely.
Great. Can you kind of touch on the same for simple machines for us? You talked a little bit about the Fisher Technic supplies and the fact that it's all reusable. What are some important kind of takeaways from this one for the older kids?
Sure. So, like famous architecture, each day is built around a step by step build. And this one, they're obviously the different simple machines. And then, like in famous architecture, once you've done that step by step build, there's also an open ended engineering challenge
Oh,
where you can apply whatever you learned from that build to something much more open ended.
that's great. Well, we're quickly moving through our buying guide as there are so many wonderful products to get to highlight. So the next one, still also falling under the enrichment camp programs, we have one centered around a particular theme, as you can see, all about the ocean. So we do have pirate camp, oceanic exploration, and survivor. Could you tell us a little bit about what makes these special, especially oceanic exploration, as you can see the little medal?
Yeah, so oceanic exploration was our third most popular enrichment program of the previous year, and we'll be
Oh,
revealing number 2 and 1 later in the call. And this really arose out of we see some programs like to have a theme that applies to all the different grade levels. And so this was kind of a popular pairing of what that could look like for K through 8.
that's great. So something that I really appreciate with PCS is that, no matter if you're an experienced educator in the classroom or someone newer to or working with others that are newer to leading out of school or summer camps, tell us a little bit about the instructor guides.
Yeah, so these are really designed, like you said, that anybody who's walking in could open these up, read through, and have all the information they need to be successful without spending a huge amount of prep time on their own. So you can see here, there's also a standard look and feel. And so once you've gone through one, the idea is it's pretty easy to pick up a different program and jump right in.
That's really important. Let's highlight a little bit about pirate camp. What can people look forward with? I mean, who doesn't like pretending like they're a pirate or,
Right.
or
Obviously, lots of pirate vocab. Like you mentioned, this was developed by one of our favorite educators to partner with. It's an example of approaching STEM as let's integrate all these different concepts and ideas around the fun theme, obviously, of pirates. So students really become a crew on a pirate ship with their team, and they go on a voyage, encounter challenges, and have to use their STEM skills to work together to continue on their journey. So you can see some examples here. They have to build a boat that will get them to an island to recover treasure. They have to learn to tie knots to secure the treasure to their boat. They learn some different vocabulary with their ships. They even write some sea shanties to get in some art integration.
yeah, so it's really this immersive adventure. That's really exciting.
Yeah, and that storytelling part is something that I think is true both of this one and of Dirt Camp that you were mentioned earlier that just makes it extra fun.
Yeah, I agree. I love that that's an important part of development for Beth that we've been working with. So look forward to the storytelling in both of those highlighted products.
Yes.
Uh, if you could kind of do the same for oceanic exploration for us for grades 4 through 6, what can teachers expect to lead their students through with this one?
Man, this one covers so much ground. I feel like it integrates the life sciences, physical science, earth sciences, obviously all about things in the ocean. So students, of course, meet different animals, different aquatic ecosystems. There's a ton of great ecology, looking at how these systems are interrelated. And a lot of it, of course, presented in a really fun, interactive way. So there's a lot of big games to model ecosystem dynamics. They get to do some fun experiments to model things like gas bladders, like in the kelp forest you can see here. So this is definitely a favorite, like we said, and no surprise that it was one of our most popular picks in the last year.
And newly updated.
It is, yes. This one we've invested, so it's looking even better than ever, and we are really excited to get it out there this year.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about Survivor. I mean, besides being a famous TV show and very popular with adults, I mean, who doesn't want to think about, if you were stranded on a desert island or somewhere remote, what would you do? So tell us kind of how that relates to kind of hooking in an older group of students, grades 6 through 8.
Yeah, so this one channels the fun of the competitive nature of Survivor. So students are in teams and they have to complete different survival challenges to compete against the other teams. And like you said, it integrates a lot of practical skills that are also very STEMmy. So, for example, that you can gather water from a tree by putting a plastic bag around its leaves is practical, but also brings up all these topics like transpiration and photosynthesis that are totally relevant to the science curriculum at the middle school level.
Yeah, that seems really accessible. That's really a cool connection. Well, we're at a new kind of collection of items. This is all about artistic programs. So you're unleashing the artists. We have Unleash Your Wild Side, Traveling Artist, and Claymation. And it looks like we've highlighted Claymation. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, claymation was our second most popular enrichment program of the previous year, traveling artists being the true number one. And this one, like you said, the arts are just such a positive way to reach kids that maybe wouldn't traditionally see themselves as a STEM kid. And so, claymation is a great example of a really strong technology piece combined with an art piece.
And you were mentioning before that something really special about these is they all have a different approach using the arts as kind of this hook. Could you tell us about how that kind of differs between the three programs?
Yeah, so STEAM can mean so many different things, and we talk about this a lot at PCS. And so each of these does approach STEAM in a different way. That's true. So in Unleash, you're really using STEAM and art projects to look at different habitats and ecosystems around the world. So a fun way to learn these science concepts. In Traveling Artist, we take that same approach, but it has a really strong social studies component. So you're looking at different cultures and folk traditions from around the world. And then in Traveling Artists, like you said, you're really going deep, understanding how to use this technology that then opens up all these storytelling possibilities, kind of like with podcasting, like you said, for kids to really get to choose what kind of stories they want to tell.
Yeah, so that's good to keep in mind. If you're a fan of claymation, then you may be enjoying podcasting with your students as well.
So
Uh,
true.
So something else that I think is important to realize are the ability to order refill kits. So if you run out, um, what are your options?
So we do have refill kits available, like you can see here. And so, like Erica shared before, all of our programs come with supplies for 30 students. But if you're serving 50 or 200 students, there are refill kits available. So you can scale up for whatever size your program is.
Oh, that's great. So you can offer it to more kids at the same time for larger numbers. You can offer it for multiple years, and we do provide this as a convenient option to refill your supplies. Thank you. So, getting kind of a little bit into unleash your wild side, I know that this has been an extremely popular camp, also developed with Beth Shad, that is behind Dirt Camp. What would you like to highlight with Unleash?
Ooh, there's so many good things here. So we talked about before, Unleash uses different art projects to explore different habitats and ecosystem. One other thing I really like about this one is like many of our programs, there are extensions for each activity. And a lot of these connect to core subjects like English language arts or math. So for example, in Unleash, every day has a arts extension that could be both writing or an extension of the craft art project for the day. So for example, in one of them, they write habitat acrostic poems to connect to the science content they learn, but also integrating those writing standards.
That's really great to know as well, in case you do have time to extend your program. So it really packs a lot into one program. That's great. So kind of leading into kind of this all-time favorite traveling
Yes.
artist, what can people expect from this? Why is it so popular?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it's so fun. And I think art is, like you said, just such a great way to approach these different concepts. Obviously, this one is very social studies focused. I think the folk crafts are also really fun. It's a really respectful way of getting to know different cultures around the world. And like Unleash, it also has a lot of really good extensions that if you do want to integrate it in a classroom space or to address learning loss, you've got lots of ways to do it. If you want to go really deep into the arts, this one was developed by a local art educator that we work with. I think it also gives you the flexibility to focus on the art side of it. And one other thing, I guess, on flexibility, this one, because it has been so popular, we've created a lot of new resources to support different learning environments. So it has video tutorials of the projects, it has slide presentations, and we've seen people teaching this 100% remote, 100% in the
Mm.
classroom, and everywhere in between.
Yeah, it's really important to have those supports. I'm really glad that that's something that PCS provides.
For sure.
Well, heading into claymation as the last product highlighted with Unleash the Artists, you talked a bit about acquiring these technological skills, but what are kind of some of the main projects, or what are kids really getting to do? I can see the clay. It looks like a kid has made a little character. Tell us, what can kids and teachers expect with this one?
Totally. So, like you said, this one I think has a lot in common with podcasting, and that the early lessons are really about skill building. So, kids do a lot of short productions, some of them to help them develop their clay building skills with their characters, some, of course, learning to use the stop motion animation software. Some of them, they are learning to make those really slow adjustments to the clay. So, one of the very first films that they make is called The Slow Crawl of Red Blob. Red Blob being their very first character that just crawls across the screen. And then, of course, all of that builds up to their final production where they have full creative control over what they want to do.
No, I think that that offers a lot of support so kids can be successful. So yeah, we love claymation. So on to kind of hidden gems. So these may not be on your radar, but these are all high quality programs, and we've gotten so much positive feedback about this. Michelle, could you tell us about, what we're hearing from teachers?
Yeah, exactly like you said. These are some that not only are favorites for us internally, but we consistently get rave reviews from people saying this was such a good experience for my kids. They were going home and telling their parents every day everything they learned, or from the teacher side, this was one of my best experiences ever teaching in summer school. So these are ones that we wanted to highlight to a broader audience. And I thought you could start us out, Erica, since I know you worked really extensively on this first one here, the Brick Lab Steam Ventures food collection.
Oh yeah, I completely loved it. I'm really glad that we got to work on this together as a team. So it's similar to other Brick Lab products that you get to do these different step-by-step builds centered around a particular theme or topic. But you also get these great interactions with characters that go on a particular adventure to explore the topic. So one of my favorites to learn about trees. They're not just, learning how to classify trees, looking at their leaves, whether they lose them or not, or have needles. They get to go on this complete adventure to the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico and discover where chocolate comes from, that it grows on trees as cacao. So, and as you mentioned in some of the other programs, I really love that kids are going through these different activities, these hands on experiments, art projects, getting extra information about science content and figures that are important to these fields, but may not be in other activities or textbooks, or seen anywhere else. So I'm really proud of that. But I also really like that it does end in these open ended challenges so that they can apply what they've learned with their bricks and be creative and innovative on their own. So I think it really does build a lot of confidence.
Well, and it integrates so many different subjects. This one is set up a little bit differently than any of our other products, being one of our very newest. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's configured?
Yeah, so these are like little workbooks. They're very robust in their activities. You can kind of see here on the right, you are getting activities that cover the different areas or disciplines of STEAM. So, as I mentioned before, you do get these experiments, like build a baking soda rocket in our flight collection, things like that. Um, you're getting to learn about technology in our farms issue. This one is highlighting smart farms. So very current and developing information that the kids get to read and do related activities with. They also are getting to do engineering with their brick builds, art projects, math challenges. It's really very complete. Kids can be as independent as they like, or they can work with their teacher as a class, or we are seeing these also sent home to engage families. So families are working on these together. They are completely tech free. They come with individual brick kits. And as Michelle mentioned, they can be sanitized. These come in mesh bags. So there's a lot of flexibility for school and home. They're portable and can be cleaned and keep kids safe. So there's, so many benefits to this program. We're really excited to see it, gain in popularity. I mean, we've seen as soon as people order one collection, they're hooked. And I think it's been almost 100% reorder rate with, ordering the next collections.
That's so true. Well, and like Erica said, the food collection is one of three. So if you get one of these and like them, there is also the flight and the transportation collections, and they are all just as good and all configured in the same way that Erica said.
Yeah, and they even so in each collection there's 4 issues, so 4 different workbooks centered around different topics within an overall theme, like flight, transportation, or food. Uh, they also come with an instructor guide or a parent guide, depending on if you're using them at school or to send home for families. So we've really tried to plan and make that adaptable as or flexible as possible for in classroom use or at home.
And you can tell we could talk about Steam Ventures all day. This has been a favorite for our development team for sure. We also want to highlight a couple others that have also been equally positive, and these are part of our enrichment program line.
Yeah, so let's get into Build a Better World. I know that a lot of thoughtful development went into this one with one of the members of our development team, Tyler. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of these highlights or the overall theme? What does it really mean to build a better world?
Yeah, so with this one, we really wanted to highlight engineering as a positive force for good in the world, which maybe seems obvious for us as adults, but isn't necessarily obvious for our kids. It can be such a powerful way of connecting to so many students that are interested in wanting to do something positive to make the world better. So this really focuses on different natural disasters as some earth science content, and then how engineering can reduce the impact of those disasters. So you can see in the example here, one of the activities is building houses designed to withstand tsunamis. So they have a wave pool, they can put them on stilts, try different materials, and do a lot of group engineering design challenges based around these different hazards.
Oh, yeah. And there's a really exciting one with how to build a house to withstand an earthquake as well.
Yes, they even build their own earthquake tables with a couple of clipboards. And so this one just has, like we talked about, received so many positive reviews and seems like such a timely topic for where we are right now.
Well, and engineering can seem so lofty, but I think that these are
Mhm.
just fun, exciting challenges that are offered in an accessible and really fun way. So I really like Build a Better World.
Absolutely.
So getting into summer camp classics, kind of adults might have a little bit of an idea of this, but I know that you were a big part of this development. And I can see here there's a solar cooker, which I love. I got to do something like this with my students, but what can teachers and kids expect from summer camp classics?
So many good things. This one is especially close to my heart since I got to work on it. And I, as a kid, loved going to summer camp. And I know we don't always associate summer camps with STEM or STEAM. So we really tried to kind of reinterpret all these classic summer camp activities that are already so good at helping kids figure out their strengths, work together as teams, and then really integrate a really strong STEM component. So, for example, with the solar cookers, s'mores are obviously an essential part of summer camp. And one way you can cook s'mores is with a solar cooker. So you can see in the picture here the final result. But this, of course, integrates a lot of art and craft with the construction, but also a lot of science and how you have to adjust it. And then also some teamwork and getting it to work together. So that's
Yeah,
one example. And you can see many others over on the side there.
it's exciting with tasty results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was a lot to go
Yeah.
through. There are so many high quality, engaging products with the 2022 STEAM buying guide. So we really want to thank you for joining us and woof, Michelle, for helping us to really highlight all of these wonderful offerings. So we really would like to hear from you. We do have a webinar survey, so you can let us know how we're doing and maybe some other topics that you'd like us to cover. That really, we do want to serve you. So let us know what we can do.
Thank you so much for all of your help, Erica. And if you're looking for any other support, our STEM ambassadors are always happy to talk to anybody about your unique program. We covered a ton today, but there are many more. And so you can reach out at Sales at Adventure or with the phone number or website here on the screen.
Thank you, Michelle, for all the great information. And thank you to all of you for joining us for the 2022 STEAM Buying Guide with PCS Adventures.
Thanks, everybody.